there is no haunting that can't be unhaunted, because all that is just a buildup of negative thought forms, which has then been channeled to a negative source, and I've mentioned that many times. And I was talking about being in a hot spot and hearing voices, and how you can channel any negative thoughts associated with those away from, let's say, for example, 5D entities which control hotspots by making sure that they propagate negative consciousness over those areas in a heightened sense, hence making you freaked out. For example, if you're a ghost hunter, and trying to capture voices, and everybody's scared and they're wanting something horror movie like, and then they get it, But they also strengthen that negative shroud around that area. This is just standard. One of the first things I found out during this research I'm doing. And I was mentioning how you do hear voices. The reason why I mention this is because everybody seems to be able to hear voices in hotspots, regardless of whatever belief they have. They either get freaked out and they turn on loud music, they try to forget about it, more lights than normal, things like that. But that doesn't change it, because they still are trying to cover up something that is scary. You get what I'm saying? You have to embrace the presence and switch it around. You don't need a bunch of people to do this. And so if you're hearing those voices, it'll be more like the one what always got me at the beginning was the deep male voices that sounded like some ancient Egyptian guy or something. You'd be hearing and you hear a full word or something that might even sound like a relative, and then you'll be like, ah! And you're like, okay, someone's yelling at me, and then you just, and that's a couple things. That's you being tested. If you're hearing voices clearly like that, that means that you have the calling to either become a student, partially unwind your spirit organ, or a teacher. And if you're hearing a bunch of voices like that and seeing those amber colors like I've talked about, and when you hear those, for example, those dark male voices like yell at you, it'll be like a shout. Someone will shout at you and it'll come through. That actually could be your guides testing you, because if you're in a major area like pyramids, Bent Pyramid, Great Pyramid, Chartres Cathedral, places like that, and local locations that haven't been put on the map and shouldn't be right now, like what I deal with, you will have protectors. And so when you hear the voices that you don't find agreeable, you just, make sure to breathe in, breathe out, focus, channel out anything but that sound. And if you find the familiarity, or you can pinpoint who that is, if it's someone you know, like a dead relative coming through, just start thinking about them, and think about scenes that you really enjoyed with them. That always helps weed out the test or the actual negative presence. And I was thinking it probably is really important for the general public to have some way of connecting with their loved ones. And when you go through NDE, near-death experience research, you see a lot of things like a mother had just lost her son, yet she turns on the radio and the son comes through, and says something. I've stood in a hot spot and asked for help with devices I was led to by my guides to make, to be able to bring through family members to then help, let's say, the dying family member. My stepmother's father came through at age 20 wearing a cowboy hat one night for me, and it was in a way to where she was able to observe this. And then she went down and got old pictures and pulled out some pictures that looked exactly like what we saw. And that's the playfulness too. You'll have humor come through, but most importantly, they come through, and this is consistent with all the NDE research, is they come through in a younger way where they maybe look their best. Maybe they're at the peak of their youth. However, you would feel most comfortable seeing them to where you wouldn't feel freaked out. That's so well documented. And this goes to this is also with mediating hotspots. And am I saying that you should start doing occult work? No, I'm saying that if you have those feelings of telluric currents and you see certain colors in certain areas and someone just passed away and you're in one of these locations, you're hearing voices, maybe you live in one, and you start to sense or start to hear those familiar voices reaching out to you, you just have to calm down and work your way through the waves. Channel the positive waves associated with that sound. Something else you can do if you have a cat water fountain, or you can even turn on the faucet low right away after someone passes. For some reason, there's a particular significance to the days and hours right after. Sit there at your living room table if you have that faucet nearby in the kitchen, or if you have the cat water fountain, for some reason that works really well. And just do the traditional meditation technique where you weed out all of the surrounding sounds, just leaving the main thing you're focusing on, which would be the trickling of the water. And nature spirits, if you ask them, remember, you don't have to ask anything out loud. It's all mental. Moving giant objects like the pyramid, yeah, you'd have to resonate sounds and do secret combinations of that. But when you're talking to the other side, they're in your head. People don't like to think about that. They like to feel so that's like a violation or something. But no, consciousness is at every point in the universe, all at the same time, and entities that don't have bodies are already in your head. Okay, so when you're talking to the loved one, it's in your head. That's what prayer got right. And so you're sitting there at the dinner table, put on the cat water fountain, sit there in your mind and ask for the loved one who just passed away. And you can do this anytime, but I'd say more specifically, there's a heightened significance to right after it happened. And focus on the streams trickling, and you'll start to hear voices. Make sure you ask nature spirits nearby that handle water. Peaceful, loving, and compassionate spirits, allow me to hear. And you'll hear the water trickling. And then I've noticed the voices will come through a lot better than just standing silent in a hotspot area, having all this mixed match of voices coming at you at one time. It's elegant, it's beautiful, and it's and you can actually have full sentences come out. So that's a healthy way where regular people can start to see the other side without having to utilize any sort of modern mythology or modern medium or local mediums. I mean, there's mediums around here that charge lawyer fees. That's immediate negative polarization, service to self. That's service to self. I talk about service to others, positive, and that's a Law of One term as well. I like those terms as used in the Law of One series. While I do have some concerns about the actual channeling process that took place there, and certain sessions I feel were more manipulated than others. I'm talking about Carla and crew who did the raw channelings. I have lots of questions about that, but I like their terminology, and I like that service to self. That's what I do. That's free medium work to hospice patients or students who are engaging in positive occult mystery teachings. You never go to a psychic, and there's ways where you can connect yourself just through meditation and in using certain things like that water technique. They'll come to you as long as you know that you can access the other dimension, and the only thing preventing you are our horror sci-fi movie mythologies, because once you connect, that means that you have the ability to repair the grid.